Sabrina 70s comic, issue 51. We start out with Della bitching at Sabrina for being good some more. The more I see this, the more I want to skip it because it's never anything new. But I have to read it in case there is something new. She says that the witch's culture is being weakened because in the supermarket the other day, she heard a witch argue with a checkout girl. Ambrose doesn't see the problem, and Della says that she should have turned her into a creepy crawly. If witches use Salem as an interjection, that helps explain why Sabrina named her cat that so casually. Why does Della think the power of the witches is fading? That doesn't make any sense. I guess she's speaking metaphorically. 3 pages in and she's still going on about this. Ambrose and Sabrina say they haven't been using their magic. Since when? I love seeing Ambrose use his magic on Della. He smacks her to the ceiling telekinetically. I just wish there wasn't a yellow flash of light instead of her actual head hitting it. I could watch this all day. We didn't need to wait 3 entire pages for it. Then there's a bunch of flames around. Sabrina says no sarcastically. And a dragon is summoned to scare Della, and the whole room's made to bounce and jiggle. I wish it was Sabrina or Hilda who did this instead, but it fits with Ambrose's personality as a practical joker at times. Della's fortunately scared off, and she says that all she asked for was the occasional spell, not for him to go mad with it. She's a really incompetent head witch if she's not gonna punish him for this. I like that Salem's finally black and white, and Ambrose and Sabrina are hugging. Why isn't he a fully black cat though, like would make sense for witches? Why were they taking so long? Why isn't Della mistreated a lot more, like every time she shows up? I wanted to love this character because she looks cool, but she's just not allowed to be anything but aggravating. In the next story, Sabrina says Hilda and her are going up the big slope, and Harvey wants to go with her. I guess he forgot about when Sabrina made him ski without skis because it's okay with skiing. Realistically, this is his first time skiing, since he didn't have any skis last time. Sabrina says that he couldn't handle Suicide Hill on his first time. Harvey thinks he shouldn't waste time on a kiddie hill when he could learn the basics from a book. Moron. Hilda says finally thinks this boy has to be taught a lesson. She casts a spell to make him start sliding down the slope. So he starts trying to read the book to learn the instructions fast. He heads for a boulder and Sabrina has to make his skis float to save him, as he realizes that he has to keep the skis tilted inwards. Why didn't he read the book on the way to this place? He starts heading for a tree, so Sabrina saves him. Then he starts heading for the end of the hill, so Sabrina saves him and lets him down easy. In the next story, Hilda says she hates winter as she's out in a snowstorm, and Sabrina says she likes how the air is. Of course she likes it. She's wearing a coat and Hilda isn't. Hilda says she hates snow, and Sabrina annoys her, saying that she loves that too and appreciates the snowflakes. Hilda slips on ice. It was nice of Sabrina to help her up. Sabrina says she should get her in the house and dry her off by the fireplace, as I wonder why Hilda was even outside in the winter at all. Hilda somehow fails to learn a lesson from the last time because she says she's had it with winter and decides to make it summer. And put in a pool and get herself a nice tan too. So Della's gonna bitch at her now for making magic too obvious to mortals. Harvey starts heading for Sabrina's house, saying that she had a good idea about having popcorn. And then he sees the pool and tells Sabrina about it. I guess Della's spies were too busy to see Hilda do this and call Della on her. I guess Della herself was also too busy. Sabrina undoes the pool and lies to him they must have seen a mirage. Then Hilda jumps into the snow in her swimsuit and life preserver. And she immediately gets a bad cold and Sabrina and Harvey have to take care of her, rather than her drinking a potion to remove the cold. I guess they're out of stock in the Witch Mart from high demand. Sabrina's just saying she should know better than to run outside in this kind of weather. And Hilda's not mad at her for what she did, which is nice of her. I guess she was mad at her off screen before this. But why is Sabrina saying she had skimpy clothing when her clothing covered almost all of her? We start out the next story with Sabrina getting framed for Hilda being zapped 3 times, as we see a jar bounce off Hilda's head and somehow not knock her out or have real consequences. Sabrina gets tripped by a broom, and both of them get splashed with white paint. Hilda says that they've got a poltergeist in the house. So Sabrina suggests calling up Della for this. You'd think they'd have all the same powers as Della, and be just as capable of handling things as her. Why don't witches have the ability to call someone up to vacuum up the ghosts, or to summon a ghost vacuum at will? I guess because the ghost vacuum would have to have its own magic, and a witch would have to give up their own magic because it couldn't create magic out of nothing. I wish I knew where this poltergeist came from and why it was here, because it seems so contrived and arbitrary. I like that Della wishes they'd give her a better call chant because she hates this one. I bet there's a new chant to summon Della every time, so that's not consistent. Thankfully for them, when she gets hit in the back of the head by a flying jar, she doesn't assume it's Ambrose or Della and get mad at them, and instead it says they got a poltergeist. Good thing for her that she didn't get knocked out or get brain damage. Maybe she did? Hilda mistakes the word exorcise for exercise and says, "If you think I'm gonna walk that little beast around on a leash, you're out of your tree. He can get his own exercise." Why would a witch have never heard of the word exorcism before and make this mistake? It was amusing though. Della gives her the official manual and tells her to follow the ritual spells to get rid of them. Pretty convoluted as opposed to just having to point. The book moves and Sabrina reads out the spells while Hilda casts them. And the spells just bother Hilda, making her crack eggs on herself and cover herself with flour. Hilda says defensively that she doesn't have warts. I thought witches in this comic wanted warts, and Sabrina was made fun of for being pretty. It turns out the poltergeist switched books on them. That's smart of the poltergeist. And the story ends with them leaving the house. That's not a proper ending. How'd the poltergeist get sent away? I guess Ambrose did it. Where did the poltergeist come from? It'd be ridiculously dark if it was someone who wanted to get back at Hilda for getting them killed, so what's the answer? Why did anyone make and have a spell book where casting its spells would just humiliate the spellcaster? If it's about getting rid of warts, couldn't the witch just zap it away in one point? And I thought the witches wanted warts. I guess the reason it makes sense that Sabrina can read out a spell for Hilda is because her magic understands that she's trying to do this for Hilda. Sabrina's not even moving her arms for the spells after all. The first story was a tedious waste of time until the very end, where Ambrose did some slapstick on Della. What the hell took so long? Why was there so much focus on Della bitching again? Della's saying this because she's a stereotypical witch. The audience would know what witches are known to be like. They don't need 3 pages of recap on it, just in case this is their first issue. The whole story should have been about that slapstick against her. How did they get away with that? The second story is about Harvey being punished for his overconfident assumption that he could ski a dangerous slope just by reading a book about it, by Hilda sending him down a slope, and Sabrina has to save him with her magic. Well, I like that it was his first time skiing, because it's kind of consistent to the fact that he never skied before last time skiing was mentioned. The third story is about Hilda, fed up with winter, casting a spell to give herself a pool and make it summer around her house. And I guess Della and her spies were too focused on spying on someone else to badger her this time. So Sabrina has to zap things back to normal instead, because Harvey showed up. And Hilda jumps into the snow because of it. And the final story is about a poltergeist trying to attack Hilda and Sabrina in their house for no reason, making it all distractingly arbitrary as they need Della's help to get a book about exorcism. And when the ghost is smart enough to get rid of the book, which Della should have planned for, they run out of the house. And that's it. There's no proper ending. You'd think a witch would win against a ghost effortlessly. Witches are known for being literally omnipotent.